with that down, we are going to move on to our fourth main topic today. And our fourth main topic today is kind of under the same stuff like Shane brought up that we've been talking about for the past week or so, which is Amazon investing all this money into movies, into the theater experience specifically, right? So we talked about, was it Friday? I believe it was Friday on the show. We talked about how at this point, Amazon is dedicating in 2023 was 10 billion?
Yeah, it was right around 1 billion, and then they spent 9 billion on MGM.
Okay. So yeah, we can say they've dedicated 10 billion to movie theaters and creating more movies for theaters, right? 10 billion, that's a lot of freaking money, guys. And yeah, so what we want to specifically talk about right now is how they have acquired MGM. Now, I know that this is kind of old news in a way, but these things take a lot of time. If you guys remember when Disney bought Fox, we knew about it for like a year, but it took forever for all the things to happen and to fall into place for them to acquire it. But it looks like that is kind of happening. The ball is starting to roll more with this acquisition of MGM by Amazon, right? Because the CEO Mark Burnett, he's exiting MGM and letting Amazon. This is giving a chance for Amazon, obviously, right, to come in and start to, take over the reins of this whole thing and hire who they want and do things like that, right? This is interesting to me just in the thought, again, that Amazon is really, like Shane said earlier, is just all in right now. They're pushing all the chips forward and going, hey, we think this is what's best. And like I was telling Shane, a few weeks ago, that this could really, we were talking about this with just Netflix announcing that they were going to put Glass Onion in the theaters. We were like, man, this could really change the whole streaming and theater industry. And now it seems that these things are. And we'll talk more about Glass Onion later and how it's going to change, or it may be changing the industry now. But specifically, all this money that they're putting in, their acquisition of MGM, all of that stuff is going to bring a lot more content to theaters, clearly. And as we know, MGM isn't Marvel or DC or Disney and all of that shit. And neither is Amazon Studios, right? Amazon Studio isn't Marvel and Disney and DC and Star Wars either. They have a lot of original, very cool, unique content. I know a lot of people that love, Shane, help me out with the space movie our show that we wanted to love.
Oh,
Expanse?
Yeah, The Expanse.
Yeah, I know everyone I know, I feel like, Key, you're going to love The Expanse. I'm like, I've tried 2 episodes. They're like, oh, you got to give it more time. Or I mean.
And people rave about the new Bond movies. They love the new Bond movies.
Or there's Ring of Power. They've acquired Lord of the Rings rights and stuff. Mm-hmm. So much that could go on here and that could be, like I said, a variety. We know now that they have Tyler Perry, right? So now we could see a Madea movie back in theaters, or we could see like this cool, what was it? The jazz, what was it here? A Jasmine's Blue, we could see something like that now in theaters, which I think really, again, is hitting this kind of what I would call niche market, but I think is really ballooning with like A24, and Jordan Peele is a perfect example. Would we expected, a comedy actor basically to step into a directing role and writing and producing, make a movie, and those movies consistently make good money? No way. We never thought that was possible, but audiences are
Another one like that's Jonah Hill.
Right. There's another perfect example. Mm-hmm. And I think people are starting to open their eyes up to these smaller films a little more often. We've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, do the biggest numbers A24's ever done this year. So I think people are starting to give these things more of a chance. And I think this, again, bodes well for them acquiring MGM, taking over and putting out, at least, what was it? Did they say 12 to 15, right? Mm-hmm. 12 to 15, budgeted films into the theater to create more box office and create more dollars and sell more popcorn for the movie theater. This is great for everything. If you're a movie fan, you love movies, specifically if you love going out to the theater to see movies, this is good for everybody. It's also good for the streaming people that love sitting at home and watching streaming stuff too, right? Because all of this stuff eventually comes to streaming, and we know that Amazon will probably do what Netflix is doing with Glass Onion, where it'll probably only be like 30 days. So small windows, we're guessing, just cracks in the windows, we're guessing on most of these releases. But Shane, you're hearing this information. What are your thoughts on them acquiring MGM, the CEO stepping down, and them starting to come in and take over?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's a pretty good move because you have two different companies essentially with MGM. You have United Artists and you have MGM. And United Artists has always kind of seen more of the prestige and more of the, Oscar-worthy pictures. But MGM, on the other hand, they've got some pretty stellar franchise rights, too, that I'm sure that Amazon's excited about to sink their teeth in, with Creed's coming out. That's MGM,
Yep.
So that whole Rocky franchise. Yep. We haven't seen a RoboCop movie in a while or Poltergeist.
Listen, it couldn't be a better time for it.
No, right? Yeah. No
Come on.
We are living
RoboCop movie, or you mean the RoboCop quadrilogy? Right? Come on.
No kidding. I mean, and let's see. They got Stargate. They got G.I. Joe, Tomb Raider. So, it works on a lot. So they can bring in, and
that's just big IP.
Yeah, exactly.
They also have a history of working with very talented filmmakers. And I think that matters a lot too, right?
Well, and Amazon's also spent the last 5-10 years, developing their own name as a studio,
right,
and
sure.
They're acquiring. I look on their future slate list, and they got like a Guy Ritchie movie in the works. They got like a Voltron movie,
right?
A George Clinton biopic. Yes,
no,
please.
Thank you.
What?
Who'd you say it was?
George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The musician.
For some reason, I thought you said Bill Clinton.
No, not at all.
I was like,
no, who
please.
cares? No, but
why
we need
the
to
hell
see
do
George
we need
Clinton
that?
and his P-Funk All-Stars. I need to see that movie.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, like you said, it's just they have a wide range. This wasn't a, hey, this is going to benefit us a little bit. This is going to benefit them tremendously because they could do the blockbusters. They could do the family stuff. They got Addams Family, but they can also do the more
it
serious.
has that cachet like we taled about because they got the lion in the deal, right, Shane?
Yep, Leo the Lion.
He's coming, right? And so at the beginning of all those movies, just like Sony does, hits us with Columbia, right?
Yep.
They hit us with that, which is also kind of iconic, right?
Yeah.
And so is that
well,
lion.
Sony being Columbia is perfect because Columbia has always been the bastard child of the Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right. Always looked down upon.
Which is kind of how Sony is.
Yeah, so it was perfect. It's not the Paramount. It's not the Warner. Fox was always kind of seen as this kind of, risk taker, and we saw how that played out. They're gone.
Right.
So,
right. Sure.
But I'm glad. Again, I mentioned this Friday. I'm a big fan of movie history, so to know that MGM's legacy will live on because Amazon ain't going anywhere. It'll be nice to be able to turn a movie on and, like you said, see Leo the Lion doing his roar to get me ready. And it's perfect to balance your sound system. You get Leo the Lion. It's a lot better than the Columbia where you just get the music coming in. It's like, I guess this is right. I'm going to have to wait. But you get that lion, you're like, yeah.
There's an episode of Family Guy where all these, like, small zoo or like animals from the wild are in classes. They're all kind of children and they're all learning and they're all like doing a report like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And there's a little lion cub and he's like, I want to be at the beginning of the movies and I want to roar real loud. And all the class laughs at him like, you're so stupid. And then it cuts to the MGM logo and he's instead of him roaring, it's actually him going, ha, you motherfucker.
Nice.
Right. And speaking of, you keep saying you're a fan of Hollywood or movie history. I was at Target and I was walking around in the book section because you know how much I love to read, and I come across for 20% off your Christmas present. I know now.
Ooh, all right, let's go.
Yep, which is the Quentin Tarantino new.
Oh God.
Hollywood movie history book from your man.
Movie histories are just lists of his favorite movies.
Right, it's just a whole book of movies that I like.
Right.
But yeah, this is like I said, really exciting for moviegoers, for the movie industry, for Amazon, for MGM, for Leo the Lion. He probably got a good chunk of change out of this whole deal. So yeah, we're happy for everybody, and we're glad this happened. Guys, what are your thoughts? What do you think about Amazon acquiring them and making this big push for theatrical releases and stuff? Definitely let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below.